far as we know that continental drift theory has lot of loopholes, right? That's what you when you talk about critically analyze, especially the forces and the assumptions he has given, even the evidences he suggested can be criticized. So the fundamental flaw of the when you write about critical analysis of continental drift theory, what should be the beginning point?
First, can you start with standard theory, like basic intro of matter? What he said, then what Taylor said?
No,
in one line.
no, that shouldn't be a good beginning, especially when you are going to critically analyze. Right. Discuss continental drift theory presented by Wegener will be a different answer. When critically analyze continental drift theory will be a different answer. When you are critically analyzing, that means you are analyzing both pros and cons. Discuss continental drift theory, you are only supposed to discuss them, whatever Wegener has suggested. In between, a little bit of criticism is okay. But when critically analysis, you have to give both pros and cons. What he is good for, what he is not accepted for. So when it is about critical analysis, you can start there may be, once we discuss other theories also, in comparative analysis will be a different answer. Here critical analysis, the most fundamental criticism of Wegener theory is associated with the forces he suggested, right, has been very heavily criticized at that time also. That it's not possible that, like Jeffrey has suggested, that if the moon has so much power, it will stop the rotation of the earth itself, right. So that was criticized at that time only. So you can start with like any theory which is there. So you should start with the importance of the theory or the importance of the topic. So you can lay down that continental drift theory is one of the earliest which tried to explain not only the mechanism of the landform but also the distribution of continents in the ocean, which ultimately culminated into plate tectonic theory, right. So that introduction would be better. Even after that, if you want to write about the historical perspective, you can give them. But
I know the drifting of continent was considered as a mystery until 1858, and Antonus treasured an integrated model of all continents joined together.
so drifting of continent was not a mystery because nobody knew that continents are drifting. That itself was assumption, right. It was not mysterious, but there are a lot of mysteries, like especially like for example the paleoclimatic studies have come out with a lot of complex and mysterious information which forced many scientists and geographers to think about their aberrations in their distribution. So that was a mystery, that was complex. That's what led to the foundation of the plate tectonic theory or the continental drift theory. But continental drift theory was not mysterious, because the thing which is
Answer being a very general approach, then being concise with what about we talking, and then the end note is what exactly what. That's how an answer should be starting.
no, look at here, an answer of graduation style is different. An answer for UPSC is different. UPSC expects you to use your knowledge to reflect your creativity, right, rather than simple writing of information or vomiting of information is graduation or degrees exams, college exams. So that is how the college going students are different from civil servants, where you want to reflect your creativity, right. Details is available on keynoteis.com पे जो एक वीडियो है मेरा, उस पे पूरा डिटेल है. Just in a brief, if so that because we will keep on writing answer in the class also. So first is the intro part, right. Then you have body parts. Then you have conclusion part, right. How intro and conclusion is different as compared to the college going. If your intro is very, very good, your body part will have automatic flow, right, and that is of very high importance in civil services writing. Roughly the word limit should be 10%, 80% and 10%. It shouldn't be very lopsided. For example, you can't go for almost 1 page introduction in a 2-page answer. If the answer is 2 page, hardly 1/4 of a page should be devoted to, even less than that, to conclusion and introduction, right. Now, how to introduce it? Generally, the way we have been introducing in the normally, like for example, most of our college fellows will be introducing questions as per just the name it. Let's say, for example, if you are writing about uh, the empowerment of women in India, like let's say essay, if you are writing, what should be the beginning? For the introduction of essay, you have an immense amount of scope. For introduction of a 250-word answer, the introduction will be different. For an introduction of 150-word, the introduction will be different, right? So when you go for introduction, especially in an optional paper, there are in any paper there are three components of introduction. The topic is what is it, right? The second is the importance of the topic. In a nutshell, why should we study it? Why should we study the topic? Right. So when you highlight importance, there are two ways to highlight the importance. First, importance of the topic with respect to humans, and the importance of the topic with respect to the subject matter. Right. Why should we study continental drift theory as an IS officer? What is continental drift theory is the first part. So when we say what is the topic, here comes the definition of the topic. That is the traditional beginning. You define the topic, you introduce your answer. That's the oldest possible beginning whenever you have been writing in your college days and school days. But for civil services writing, the beginning here is very, very important. If you start with the beginning, unless until the definition itself is very complex, you can go with a definition which you feel that yes, definition will add some value to your answer. Then you can define. Right. For example, even continental drift theory, the definition can be slightly better. When we are talking about the continental drift theory, is a theory related which explains about the drifting or slow movement of continent. Right. So that is okay, but there will be many topics where definition will not be at all important. So there you can start with, or you can club entire in the initial lines. What do you mean by definition of the topic? Importance of the topic with respect to humans, whether it is directly or indirectly. Let's say suppose continental drift theory. So how continental drift theory is important? Why should we study? Exactly. Which has formed the foundation for the origin of the theory of plate tectonic, and which has simplified a complex subject like geography and has evolved to explain almost all the landforms very scientifically and reasonably. That's the importance of the continental drift theory. Right? We have talked about not only about humans but also subject. Right? Continental drift theory is important because it has helped found the theory of plate tectonic, which forms the base of geomorphology, heart and soul of geomorphology. Had continental drift theory been not there, perhaps even plate tectonic wouldn't have been there. Getting that point? So obviously that is the importance, because look at here, this topic is redundant. Continental drift theory is no more valid in any aspect except the fact that continents are drifting, but even presently what we are accepting, it is not exactly what Wegener has suggested. Yet it is mentioned in the topic that suggests the importance of the topic. Only to give some credit to Wegener, that thank you for initiating that. Thank you for your beginning of the thought. Thanks for bringing the idea on the forefront. Only then later on, scientists have started discussing, explaining, talking about it. If you wouldn't have started, this plate tectonic theory wouldn't have been there. That's why this topic is mentioned. Otherwise, this topic has no value in the present day scenario. Yet it is mentioned in the syllabus, not only in the geography syllabus, but also in the civil services. Highlight that. Tell the examiner that I do understand the importance of the figure or the data you are presenting. Right? right? So when we talk about humans, that is basic perspective with respect to direct or for example, earthquake. Earthquake is a disaster. For example, floods and droughts. So floods and droughts are also disaster faced by humanity. For example, empowerment of women. So empowerment of women is an integral part of a civilized society where 50% of our population, if not empowered, we cannot be called civilized or growing up or a developed nation, right? So understanding the empowerment of women helps you understand the civilizational attainment of a society. Because if woman is not empowered, like for example, essay में अगर लिख रहे हो आप, तो answer of the essay or the beginning of the essay will be different, right? In the land of Durga, Kali and Saraswati, we are talking about empowerment of women. It is a shame on us, isn't it? The moment we talk about empowerment, means it is a negative connotation, isn't it? Empowerment का मतलब क्या? That means they are not empowered. That's why we want to empower them. And women as a part of our life, whether it is in a male chauvinist society, is a male centric society, if you are talking about empowerment of women, that means something is wrong with us. In a country like India, where the Rigvedic period talks about participation of women in sabhas and samitis, and they have almost equal right. So historical perspective, you can go there, right? Then you even after that fact, like for example, the most civilized and advanced country like US is still struggling to find out her first woman president, and we have already have it long back. Razia Sultan was there in the medieval period also. Good number of women can be given example in the ancient period also. Then in the freedom struggle you can talk about. Then in the post-independent India, the most powerful prime minister of the country, you can say till date, it was the Indira Gandhi. And still we are struggling for the to give women its due place. वहाँ से शुरू कर सकते हैं. Instead of defining empowerment, what is empowerment and all, you can define in the way when you talk about body parts. So, and body parts is basically should always flow from the question. Like, for example, critically analyze continental drift theory. So, the answer should always be flowing from question. The direction should be unidirectional, nothing else. Like you will have terms, generally keywords. Keep on playing with those keywords. Critically analyze continental drift theory. So, keyword is what? Continental drift theory, and one supplement is critically analyze, right? How plate tectonic theory is an improvement over continental drift theory. So, there are two keywords. So, keep on playing with those keywords. Continental drift theory, critically analyze. Continental drift theory, critically analyze. In this question which we have discussed last time, or which I have given you last time, that is critically analyze continental drift theory. So, there is a single keyword, but the loop is critically analyze. So, talk about continental drift theory and keep on analyzing it, right? Talk about the general belief of Wegener, that he propounded an idea and he suggested that the continents are drifting. This is his idea. Now, continental drift theory, part of continent, now critically analyze. Critically analyze, continents are, even the present belief, with the help of the plate tectonic theory, yes, continents are drifting, but not in the manner Wegener has suggested. Critically analyze. You are talking about the drifting of the continents in a larger context, you are proving it, that yes, continents are drifting, but not the way. That's what critically analyze. You are analyzing critically, both pros and cons. We are talking about, yes, continents are drifting. Even the present day, the most scientific theory of plate tectonic has proved that continents are drifting, continents are moving, but not in the manner Wegener might have suggested or might have thought, right? Then come to that evidence he suggested. Write all those evidence, critically analyze. How will you critically analyze? When you talk about the when you talk about the evidences, let's say for example geographical similarity. Yes, that is one of the bases, and still it can be visible, but that mere assumptions cannot be the basis for such a big idea. So at that time it was not believed, not accepted, heavily criticized. But evidences he suggested proves that he was very confident of the fact that continents were drifting. Right. Then comes to forces. Explain the forces, explain his theory. Start with that he suggested that there existed a supercontinent till Carboniferous period he called Pangaea and surrounded by this. Come back to criticize. Next, change your paragraph and talk about criticism. That he suggested the existence of continent till Carboniferous period. But he didn't explain why till Carboniferous period. What has happened before Carboniferous period? Why did he choose Carboniferous period as the last entry of the existence of a supercontinent? That is critically analysis. Then you talk about forces, then you critically analyze the forces. First you write the theory, what he has suggested. According to Wegener, this is the forces. Then talk about that moon can't have that much, and a small difference of half a kilometer or few kilometers between the continents and oceans cannot generate a difference of gravitational force which will allow the continents to move freely over the symmetric against the rotational direction. So that was very unscientific. He himself is contradicting. The way he suggested that initially he took the help of Suez, that Sial is moving smoothly over Sima. Then while explaining the presence of Rockies and Andes, he started talking about the resistance. And even if that resistance, the way we have criticized it. So you can theory, criticism, theory, part of theory, criticism.
So writing in pointers,
That's fine.
it's fine.
That's very fine. Like this, but there shouldn't be rigidity about it. That's the fundamentals of intellectuals, you see. You have to reflect yourself far above than the ordinary people, ordinary college going student. For example, if you have some criticism about me, let's say suppose if you are saying that any part of my teaching method is not very good or up to the mark, what should be my response? If I start reacting very badly, that means I don't have confidence in me. If I start explaining you, okay, this is how I thought, but since you are saying, I will consider upon it. And if I think that yes, your suggestion is genuine, I adopt it, that means it's not your credit, it's my credit. That I take the suggestion of a student at the highest possible, because ultimately if I am teaching for you people. And if you are not getting, so that maturity must be reflected there. So there shouldn't be any rigidity about it, that I will be going for point wise, I will be going for paragraphing only. Whenever you feel, it is you who has to decide that this particular information can be explained in a better manner in paragraph, go for paragraphing. Paragraphing come point wise. Whenever you think that you have huge amount of information, yet you cannot place in the limited number of words, you choose point wise. But never be rigid. The pointers cannot be the beginning unless until the question is very straight. For example, if the question is what are the limitations of the continental drift theory? Following are the limitations of the continental theory. No, you don't need to introduce that question. If the question is very straight, but nowadays if you see, the question will be a statement, discuss, critically analyze, elaborate, elucidate, why do you think about it, do you agree? So that becomes very subjective nature. Even in general studies also, the pattern will be similar. So there if you want to introduce, that should be a qualitative introduction. Yeah, and you have enough amount, unless until the question is very straightforward. What are the different type of boundaries, plate boundaries? Suppose plate tectonics की हम अगर बात करें तो following are the different types, but discuss the types of boundaries and the consequences of it as suggested by plate tectonic theory. Then the word discuss gives you enough amount of scope to become subjective. Yes, you can't directly begin that following are the types. Getting my point? I take a very simple question while explaining this, the difference between what is your name and introduce yourself. What is your name? You don't have any scope to write except that my name is Shamim Anwer, finish. You don't have any scope to explain your dada wanted this, your grandfather wanted this, your father wanted this, your mother wanted this, since your mother is more important in the family decision making, that's why my name is this. No. Discuss the history of your name. You have all amount of scope. Discuss your name. The question is different than what is your name. Analyze your name. So you have enough amount of scope that someone of my name has ruled Greek Empire, and someone of my name are similar to my name, and the meaning of my name has ruled in the medieval period in Russian Empire and all. The one of the Khilji ones was the dynasty was this. Ashoka was a great king. My name is Ashoka. So that way, when it is the subjective, the statement itself becomes subjective. It gives you enough amount of scope. And 99% of the present day questions of civil services will be of that nature. So don't be rigid. You have to be flexible. That's the fundamental basic requirement of a civil servant, or for that matter, any intellectual discourse. If we are having some discussion over a subjective issue, you just can't demean me by saying, no, I don't agree. Yes, you have every right not to be agree, right? But you can't stop me from speaking, neither I can stop you from speaking on a subjective issue. Getting my point? That's the fundamental difference between a chai dhaba and a civil services factory, right? Wherever you discuss, you should reflect your maturity. So first thing is that avoid rigidity. Don't stop your mind as far as thinking is concerned, creativity is concerned. Then conclusion. Conclusion exactly opposite of the introduction. In the introduction, we have talked about importance of topic with respect to humans. Here, impact of human over the topic. If you take several questions, most of the impact of human will be negative in nature over the topic. But there will be positive, which will be rare. Right. If the impact is positive, no issue. You just end with that. For example, continental drift theory. What is the impact of humans over the topic? Huh? That is evolution of plate tectonic theory. We used continental drift theory as the base, and we evolved a theory called plate tectonics, right? So in that case, if you talk about, then plate tectonic theory becomes a positive impact of human, highlight that, and plate tectonic theory, importance of that. Now, if the impact is negative, then obviously something must have been done for it. Highlight that. What has been done? That means what has been done on the individual basis, on community basis, on institutional basis. Depending on the topic. If the topic is generally of international importance, you talk about what UN has taken steps, what the international community has taken steps, what is the level of international cooperation on that particular topic. If it is about the national level, then talk about the national steps or the government steps taken for that. Right. For example, if you are writing about command area development program or irrigation projects, so irrigation do have some negative impact. Like for example, heavy irrigation in Punjab and Haryana has led to deterioration of soil quality and the fertility of the soil. Highlight that. What steps has been taken by the government? Obviously, the rational use of water, a lot of research work, explanation, increasing awareness. What needs to be done? Your suggestion. Here, like for example, irrigation example, integrated water development program has been carried out by the government, but the awareness of the farmers, the research work should be done for each type of soil where the utility of water can be at the best possible level. You talk about the scientific method of irrigation. With this, the impact can be minimized or eliminated. Finish it. Always end with a positive note. Always. Howsoever pathetic topic you have chosen, the end line must reflect the optimism in you, that you are very optimistic. As an IS officer, you will be supposed to behave like an optimist. Even if you are posted, let's say suppose you are posted in a tribal district, right? And you know that you will be staying here for, let's say, 2 years. And you know that whatever steps you have taken may not bring any change on the ground level. You might have established a school, but with your 2 years effort, you can at the best can reach out to the people and try to convince them to send their children, yet they are not ready. And you may not be able to get even a single child enrolled in your school. Yet you are supposed to work there so that the next DM who comes, at least the groundwork has been done. You can brief the next predecessor and tell him or her that fine, this is the level of work I have done, and I hope if you continue with that, hopefully within a year or so, some children will start coming. And the moment we have the beginning, then there will be a lot who will follow that. So that optimism must be reflected in your answer in the ending line, even if it is the worst possible topic in the present scenario you can see. Hope you are getting my point. Let's say suppose you are talking about any of the economic issue, like for example some of the projects which we are carrying out as an institution, as a nation, and that is producing the worst possible result. Yet you are not supposed to be negative about it, at least in the ending line. Criticize, talk about that everything, but in a diplomatic, mature manner. Even if you want to criticize, there is a misconception that entering into the part of the government, you cannot criticize. It's not like that. You can criticize, but your criticism just should be with reverence. Just should be just like even we have every right, and we do criticize our parents also. Very often, that shows the liberal attitude of the parents. If the credit goes to the parents, that they have made you, they have enabled you, and they give you that much space to criticize them, right? But you cannot forget that they are your parents while criticizing. Remember that line and criticize the government. Yes, very healthy criticism, constructive criticism, mature criticism. Your language, your word, your way of writing must reflect your maturity. Yeah?
So there should be, like if you are criticizing, then there should be possible solution also in the answer.
Yeah, that's the end point. That's the end point. When you have talking what needs to be done is your suggestion. And the suggestion may not necessarily be purely yours. Whatever you have read in different quarters, different books, different sources, you can just apply that. If nothing is there, people's participation, the awareness, increasing awareness among the masses, greater cooperation among different institutions, international, national level, transfer of technology, these are very common terms to suggest, depending upon the nature of the question. End with a line that with these steps, since I am suggesting, so once these suggestions are taken up, things will be the best. So that way, ending line must be a positive note, reflecting your optimism, that you are an optimistic person, one of the most important quality of a leader. So be careful. Initially, don't take too much pain as far as the word limit is concerned. Don't take too much pain as far as the relevancy of concern in the initial notes. Just apply your mind. Be as much creative as possible. Write whatever you want without thinking, just like a child who has started learning to walk. You cannot blame that your knee is not very straight. When you walk, you should be straight. You can't. let him crawl or her crawl, let him do whatever they want. And that ways you should start. Treat yourself as a child as far as the writer of civil services answer is concerned. Then gradually evolve, and evolve obviously with a very articulated and integrated manner. Try to bring different ideas. Try to apply climatology into geomorphology, geomorphology into oceanography, oceanography into economic geography. Try to bring history into geography. Try to bring sociology into geography, and vice versa. When you are writing about landforms, try to write about the impact of landforms on settlement, human occupation, mineral resources in the beginning, importance of landforms. Try it, if you are writing about slope, talk about the importance of slope in human day-to-day life. Slope is one of the most important factor, physical factor affecting human lives. Slope determines the type agricultural activities, the types of crops to be grown, the types of settlements to be present in that area. Highlight that. If you are talking about temperature, talk about the fact that temperature is the most important climatic element which affects the humans, not only the various economic activities, but also even the dressing and dance pattern and various cultural aspects. Start with that. That means you are being beyond book. You are thinking beyond the factual information. You are thinking beyond whatever has been taught to you. And the moment you are reflecting those things, your answer will be different. Right?